Hey, YouTube believers. Chris Mack coming at you with Hellions number 3. Now, a lot of the Krakoan books I've said that I do not like, and I hold true to that because some of the main books, well, anyway, Hellions for me is like the Dirty Dozen. I know I said that with issue number 1, and what I'm liking so far with issue 3 is, they try to set a plan, but just like in anything, you set the plan, but nothing ever goes according to plan, and as this book has shown thus far, the proverbial feces has hit the fan. Now, I don't understand why they put this here, and I do not ever see Nightcrawler saying this. I do wonder which binds us more, Xavier's ideals or the trauma of being mutant, the dream or the pain. Well, I call this Plant Nightcrawler because this is not Kurt Wagner. It just doesn't mean anything to me. Now, on to what's good. So it's revealed that Madelyne Pryor, the Goblin Queen, is alive. And she's sealed Havoc's mouth shut, and it's just insane. This kind of reminds me of The Matrix, what they do, what Mr. Smith is his name, does to Neo. He's good boy. Now, there once was a girl from the land of the midnight sun. Now, real quick, before I know I'm kind of killing the space here, but remember how I talk about how each issue should feel a jump-on point? And I feel that this does a good job in a sense where it kind of, in a sense, brings you full circle on what's happened in the last issues and who Madelyne Pryor is. Because if you haven't read, like, not the Fall of the Mutants, Inferno, you're not really going to get it. So anyway, it says there once was a girl from the midnight sun, and she's kind of playing this little like organ, who longed to fondle the sky, but was grounded by the touch of another. Madelyne was a pilot, and that's how she met Cyclops, your brother, who the girl cherished, who promised to cherish her until his first love returned, his true love. So Nathan Summers' Cable biological mother is Madelyne Pryor, even though she's like a splitting genetic clone of Jean Grey. His father, Cyclops. And at the time when he was with Madelyne, it was after the Dark Phoenix saga. Jean died. Scott left the team for a while, and that's where he met Maddie. But when Jean returned, which I can't remember the issue numbers, but basically the sequence is it starts in Avengers, Fantastic Four, and then launches into X Factor #1. But yeah, Scott straight up leaves Maddie to go back to Jean. Leaves her with the baby. And then the girl became a nothing person in a nowhere place. And this kind of falls into events after Fall of the Mutants, where Maddie is in the Australian outback with Havoc and the X-Men that claim to be dead. And she sees that Cyclops is with Jean, and it tears her apart. And you can kind of see the organ instruments, the way that they use the onomatopoeias there, increases. She goes, "You're making noise, Alex. I told you to hush." And then he's able to tear his mouth open, and just horrific body mutilation there. And he's like, and I'm not even going to try to do this, but he says, "Let me tell you a story about a boy who wanted the woman his brother had, who promised he'd give her everything her brother couldn't. Because when they were in the Australian outback, he tried to make a pass at her. A boy who learned she really loved his brother the whole time. A boy who was beyond sick of hearing about her talk about him." And I like how the up angle here, dynamic panel, no flatness here. The anger in his eyes, he's sick of always being compared to Scott. Now Maddie, the eyes. My, how you've changed, Alex Summer. This I can work with. Now, there's a comedian I used to listen to back in the day. He was talking about dating crazy people. And in this sense, it was a guy and a girl, and the girl was the crazy one. He goes, she scares you a little bit, but you like it. Because she gets those eyes, and then torn mouth, they just kiss. And it's a beautiful panel, don't get me wrong, but the madness, and look at how the reds enhance, again, imagery driving the plot. Exactly what a comic book should do. And this is a modern comic book. Oh my goodness. And then we get into the credits. This is Zeb Wells writing, which I really do appreciate his writing. Steven Segovia, artist, as I just said, I loved his work in The Silencer. David Curell doing the coloring. VC's Arania Maher doing the lettering. Tom Mueller, the design. Here's everyone else working on the book. And this is called Nothing People. And it actually works because this team is comprised of villains, people who are trying to find redemption, like Alex and Wildchild. But then you have like Harpoon, who was part of the original Mutant Massacre back in the Claremont days, who wiped out all the Morlocks. And then it's led up by Quanon, who is Psylocke. At this point, her and Betsy have split, so Elizabeth Braddock is back in her own English body. So this is just a straight-up assassin Quanon. In the last issue, she got injured. Wildchild smelt the blood, and he's like, I don't see you as the Alpha anymore. So we get into these great panel battles of Psylocke and him. And she just uses the whole totality of the psychic blade. And I think that was kind of one of the things that was left over from Betsy here, is she was able to have the psionic blade. I don't know if that was one of her original things, but nonetheless, look at the way the purples and the reds and the shadows just enhance that violence. Oh my goodness. This is a team that does not like each other. And then while all this is happening, you kind of see that Havoc has kind of joined Maddie. And now again, I do get tired of LOL so random humor, but I like that Nanny and Orphan Maker are part of the team, even though they seem kind of useless. And they're just going to town on Nanny, and she's like, are you touching my Peter? You animals. Now, this kind of what I was talking about with Morph in the Age of Apocalypse. It adds some levity, so you had a little bit of laughing. But again, you can tell that Maddie has a whole lot of issues because, feeling like she was just a rip-off imitation of Jean. Because she's talking to Harpoon, and she's like, you see my children? They're hungry. They will always hunger. No matter how much they eat, that is the curse I gifted them. Do you know why? And he's just not even going to give into it. And he goes, it's very, very unwise to pretend I don't exist. It's my least favorite thing. So you can see she has a lot of hurt for what Cyclops and the X-Men did to her. Now, Arclight here was part of the original Marauders, so you can see how Maddie's sort of twisting this to try to break him. And then we jump back in between moments of battle between Wildchild and Psylocke, which I'm having a hard time really accepting this version of Wildchild, because I love the AOA version. But again, at this point, I think it's just because his lesser functions are working and he doesn't see Psylocke as the leader. So she has to do something drastic to get his attention. I don't want to spoil that because it is just absolutely intense. Now, I wish these would stop. It's like if I wanted to read a book, then they should have made it a book. And again, show don't tell. So I know this isn't Zeb Well. This is Marvel editing, dropping the ball. But you kind of find out some stuff. If you want to, pause it, read it. But this last part, where he goes, the Sinister discovers this. Will I want to point and laugh? Of course. I'm only mutant. But not if Krakoa burns behind my back. Which I think a lot of us X-fans would not be heartbroken if Krakoa did burn to the ground, because yeah, these are not our X-Men. And that's what I like about Zeb here, is he's actually adding a lot of the original story. Like, the mutant massacre, Psylocke and Quinnon, and how they were merged during the Siege Perilous and all this stuff. It really does help. And the action, that's just like the cherry on top. That just really helps with the book. Now, I don't want to give everything away, but I do like the way the story kind of jumps, so you're not stuck on one thing like people sitting and talking like an X Factor. We get stakes. We get a few moments where there's like a glimpse of who these people were originally. We see Havoc succumb to the Goblin Queen. It's like, you see why I have to take your head and throw it at their feet. Yes, Queen. Good. So yeah, I'm really interested in seeing where this goes, because she's talking about how all these clones she wants to unleash on Krakoa. She goes, the lucky ones will drown in the blood of the murdered. In the sleeping remains of your island, I will leave a footprint. In mutant blood, in soil, it will fossilize, scarring this cursed epoch. And then only fools will argue I never existed. And for Scott, your head. That's how you storytell. And that, I don't mean to bash on a lot of modern comics, but I feel like a lot of people have forgotten what makes storytelling engaging, both through dialogue and art. And that's why I really try to focus on a lot of what Claremont did, Nick Kezia did, Peter David did, and Scott Liddell did back in the day. Because that, boy, yeah, kind of the X Factor book that we went over, that was some great storytelling. And I'm hoping to eventually redo the Muir Island saga, which I said, if you guys want to see a review on that, let me know down in the comments. And speaking of, if you guys have enjoyed Hellions, which I'm absolutely enjoying this book, I think I'm going to stick with this one in X-Force for just a little bit longer. Please, first and foremost, support your local comic shop and pick up a copy. I'm personally invested because the Goblin Queen and Inferno are like some of the older Claremont stories that I really, really did enjoy. And speaking of enjoyment, if you guys have enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little Goblin Queen bell next to subscribe. That way, as we continue to upload content, you guys can come to the channel. And we love this to chit-chat with y'all down in the comments below and hear your feedback, or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the link down in the description below. So with all that said, I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.